Yo, new location unlocked? I was on the couch, lighting is terrible. I was in my bed, lighting is terrible. So now we're on the floor. Hi. Hello. Anyway, I have besties who's up stroking their waffle. I know I promised a video last week. As you can hear by my voice, I caught a cold. So I I didn't have the energy to film, and even if I did, I it would have not been the best video I've ever made. A while ago, I asked you guys over on TikTok and on Instagram, links in the description if you want to follow me, if you would be interested in me covering this book. It's called Monsters You Should Know. I know it's backwards, I'm sorry, I'll insert a picture. And it basically has a bunch of monsters from mythology and folktale from all over the world. I thought it would be fun to delve into the legend of these stories, to tell you guys about it, to tell you how it still affects the country of origin, yada 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 yada. Because since my channel is about all things alternative and just stuff that interests me in and of itself, I thought it would be fun to cover some spooky, scary, creepy little guys. And so today I'll be talking about the first 4 stories in this book. Starting off strong, we are starting with Baku. Although Baku is known in Japan, it finds its origin in Chinese mythology. In the 19th century, poet Bai Chuyi popularized Mo in a series of drawings featuring a fantastical monster made up of tiger paws, a cow's tail, rhinoceros eyes, and an elephant trunk. Just like Mo, Baku also had a similar snout, likely because it's based off of the same animal, the Malaysian tapir. The importance of Mo was to ward off sickness and evil, being a protector of sorts, and it was used during epidemics to scare off all kinds of sickness or evil spirits carrying a sickness. Its Japanese origin lies somewhere around the 14th and 15th century in the Muromachi period. Illustrations of the monster are known to have been in possession and used by the upper class, but it became well known in most of the Japanese population around the 17th century. An early 17th century manuscript, the Sankai Ibutsu an early 17th century manuscript, the Sankai Ibutsu, describes the Baku as a Chinese mythical chimera with an elephant's trunk, rhinoceros eyes, an ox tail, and tiger paws, which protects against evil or epidemics, all that kind of stuff. And although nowadays it's mostly known for its nightmare eating qualities, the 17th century manuscript doesn't mention that. In a Japanese woodblock illustration from 1791, a specifically dream destroying Baku is depicted with an elephant's head, elephant tusks, and an elephant's trunk with horn and tiger claws. Why is my cat screaming at me? We have a little man who wants attention who's been screaming at me the entire time I've been filming. Want to say something? You've been mowing to me this entire time and now you're camera shy? I was a little confused. These kinds of carvings are often found in and around temples and shrines, where the baku is used as a protector to ward off evil spirits. During the Meiji era, specifically 1902, Lafcadio Hearn published Koto, in which he included classical fables next to his own discoveries from his time in Japan. And he describes a baku with very similar attributes as before, but now it is also able to devour nightmares. As you can already tell, there's a lot of different descriptions on the appearance of the monster. Some say its head is an elephant, and the body of a bear, and the feet of a tiger, and the eyes of a rhinoceros, and the tail of an ox. And another one states the body of a horse, the face of a lion, the trunk and the tusks of an elephant, the forelocks of a rhinoceros, the tail of a cow, and the feet of a tiger. That same description also says that female baku look different, but then they don't give a description on what the female baku looks like. The best way to explain it is basically just a chimera. The best way to describe it is basically just a chimera, aka a mythological beast that is just combined out of multiple different animal parts. And that is actually pretty lore accurate if you look at the Baku's origin story. The Baku is created out of the leftover animal parts that the gods had left over after they finished creating all of the other animals on Earth. This creature roams the street at night, watching over humans as they sleep, and if someone has a nightmare, they can call onto Baku and it'll consume the evil spirit that's causing the nightmare. Hence why evil spirits and yokai fear the Baku and flee from Baku inhabited areas. Now you may ask yourself, Lisa, if it's used for protection and evil is scared of, why is it categorized under monsters? Well, if you call onto Baku too often, or, its hunger is not satisfied by the nightmare you had, it'll eat all of your dreams and your hopes and your wants and desires, and you'll basically end up as a very depressed, lonely, empty human being. Despite that whole warning and possibility and all that, it is generally represented as a neutral protector. Some legends depict Baku as a guardian spirit that watches over humans while they sleep. There are also multiple ways to summon it. I'm not saying you should, I'm just saying if you want to, here are some ways. One legend says that all you need to do after you have a nightmare is just say you are giving it to Baku out loud and you're all set. Another one says that you have to say Baku Kurai, which means Baku come eat 3 times in a row immediately after waking up, and that'll summon the whole thing about. Even now, its representation can often be found all around Japan. Like I said earlier, Baku depictions are often found on ancient temples or shrines right next to other guardians like the tigers and the ryu, or the Japanese like dragons that protect temples. Its name and image have been used as symbols of good luck in talismans and charms all throughout Japanese history. In old days, it was even common to embroider the kanji for Baku onto pillows in order to keep away bad dreams and sickness and evil spirits and death and yada yada yada. At the turn of the last century, the practice of keeping Baku talismans and amulets by the bedside wasn't very uncommon. Even children nowadays are still told that if they have a nightmare, they can just wake up, say Baku Kurai 3 times in a row, and upon speaking those words, Baku would enter the child's room, devour the dream, and letting the child go back to sleep peacefully. Also, fun fact, because of the believed connection between Baku and Mo and the Malayan tapir, the word Baku in Japanese actually means tapir. And because of this double meaning to the word Baku, in modern Japanese comic books, it has become a customary joke to draw a tapir eating dreams like Baku does. And another fun fact, which I found really cool, is that Drowsy and Muna, the Pokemon, are actually based on the Baku. I would pull up my Pokemon cards, but they are somewhere, and I don't want to get even more distracted than this video is already. This what? Huh? Up next, we have the cockatrice. I don't want to keep saying that. I am one of the people that giggles at the first part of that word. Leave me alone. If we want to look at this dragon-like chicken thing, we first must look at the basilisk. Many people, including myself, think they are the same thing, but they're not, even though they're extremely similar. I am ashamed to say that I also thought they were the same thing, but apparently they're not. So let's dive into everything. One of the earliest known accounts of the basilisk was written by Pliny the Elder around the year 97. Not 1997, no, just 97. If you don't know Pliny the Elder, go Google it. He wrote, "It is produced in the province of Cyrene, being not more than 12 fingers in length. It has a white spot on its head, strongly resembling a sort of diadem. When it hisses, all of the other serpents fly from it, and it does not advance its body, like the others, by a succession of folds, but it moves along upright and erect upon the middle." The cockatrice is erect. It destroys all shrubs, not only by its contact, but those even that it has breathed upon. It burns up all the grass too, and breaks the stones. So tremendous is its noxious influence. And then a bit later he says, by its mere breath and glance, shrivel and cripple whatever comes its way. Yeah, what the man? Pliny also refers to it as the king of serpents. The basilisk finds its origin in the Greek word basiliskos, or in Latin basiliscus, meaning little king, little prince, little ruler. It's made up of two components, basileus, meaning king, and then the add-on of iskos to make it diminutive, so like little king. And as to why it is the king of serpents, like Pliny described, the basilisk has a mitre or a crown-like shaped crest on its head. If you see it somewhere depicted without like the crest, it would be depicted with like crown-like features such as like a cock's comb. What is a cock and a rooster the same thing? Hold on. It is just a okay. I'm gonna call it a rooster from now on because yeah, no, it's not gonna work if I keep calling it that. The basilisk tends to be shown more as like a reptilian, snake-like, lizard-like animal with many legs, and it kind of makes sense that they are like a serpent because they come from a serpent egg, which is then hatched by a rooster. Another big part of the basilisk story is that they are often extremely venomous. They can cause instant death or petrification to anyone or anything that is directly in reach of them. But they do have a natural enemy, which is none other than the weasel. Ooh wee you, I look just like Buddy Holly. I know that's Weezer, okay? getting Weezered, getting Weezered as a basilisk. I just got weaseled. Sorry, guys. It's theorized that Pliny took inspiration from the cobra's natural enemy being the mongoose, but I am terrified of snakes, and I did not want to research anything about snakes. Now let's go from the basilisk to the cockatrice, which we should be talking about. The cockatrice is very much inspired by Pliny's basilisk. Both creatures are able to turn people into stone. Both creatures have poisonous breath. Both creatures' weaknesses are the weasel, but the cockatrice has another weakness, which is the crow of a rooster or a crow. There's different things. Like either someone says it's a rooster, another person says it's like a crow. Another person says both of them. It's wild. And although the myth of the cockatrice began taking shape in the 14th century, the first actual use of the term was in the King James Bible around the 17th century. As we all know, 14th century England was a doozy. Aside from the Black Death, there was also a lot of pressure on the people of England. There was not only the dilemma of like staying Catholic or becoming Protestant, but also whether to be political or not. And then the mythical, fantastical cockatrice became almost like a mascot for people who stayed strong in their faith. For them, it represented truth, strength, and courage. On top of that, the poets from the Queen Elizabeth I era loved the stories of the cockatrice. As Lawrence Briner described it, it was used as an ornament in the drama and poetry of the Elizabethans. And now onto the cockatrice's presence in the Bible. Mentions of the creature are found in multiple chapters of Isaiah and also in Jeremiah chapter 8. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 29 reads, Rejoice not thou, whole Palestina, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 8 reads, And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weakened child shall put its hand on the cockatrice's den. Isaiah chapter 59, verse 5 reads, They hatch cockatrice eggs, and weave the spider's web. He that eateth of the eggs dieth, and that which is cursed breaketh out into a viper. Lastly, Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 17 reads, For behold, I will send serpents, cockatrices among you, which will not be charmed, and they shall bite you, saith the Lord. I actually have a Bible myself. Shocker, I know. And I went to look in mine if it's written the same way, but my Bible is a New International Version from 1999. And like in a lot of Bibles, the word cockatrice has been changed to cobra. All of the verses in Isaiah make it very clear that the cockatrice hatches from the hands of those who have turned away from God, showing that the cockatrice symbolizes something pure and utter evil. During and after the 17th century, more details were added to the legend of the cockatrice, making us able to describe the cockatrice as follows. The size of this being can range anywhere from the size of a domesticated chicken to as big as a dragon. Most people believe that it's between 6 and 12 inches tall, which for literally anyone else in the world is 15 and 30 and a half centimeters. Their heads resemble that of a chicken. The male has a comb or wattles, and the female has a pretty much non-existent comb or no wattles. They walk on two legs, that look like chicken or dragon legs. Their wings were small, so not efficient for flying, and their body and their tail were once again serpent-like or dragon-like. Their breath is known for killing its victims, either by spewing fire or venomous gas coming from its beak. Another way it would attack its victims is by just turning them to stone by their stare. And if that wasn't bad enough, the feathers of this being also expelled poisonous gases that could kill you if you touch them. And for shits and giggles, of course, because why not? Its venomous breath could also poison the water or the ground so that no crops could grow and you're screwed. Oh, and also more fun, just like chickens, they live together in a group. Oh, but Lisa, how do they get created? Why do you want to know? But also, is the opposite of a basilisk. Basically, a cockatrice is created by an egg laid by a rooster. In some specific stories, it has to be the egg of a 7-year-old rooster on a full moon. So once again, if you'd want to DIY it, keep that in mind. And then the egg has to be hatched by either a serpent or a lizard or something of that kind. And like I said before, the method of killing them is very similar to the basilisk. It's either the crow of a crow or of a regular rooster, which doesn't really kill them immediately. It basically makes them go insane until they're dead. Another way was using a weasel. There are some sources that say that if there was um, a suspected cockatrice nest, they would basically just chuck a weasel in there. It was like a weasel is supposed to be immune to their poison and to their stone turning stares, but I don't know. I have this image in my head now of just a town in England in like the 14th century just chucking weasels into the ground. Both creatures are featured in pop culture quite often. Some shows and games make a very clear distinction between the two. Some of them just mix them together. I know Harry Potter has both of them, but they make a very clear distinction, just like you should make a distinction between the Harry Potter series and J.K. Rowling, because ew. It's most often found in literature. Think of the Spiderwick Chronicles, the Witcher cycle, A Song of Fire and of Ice and Fire, the Heroes of Olympus, and even Shakespeare. Shakespeare referred to both creatures in his plays, specifically in Richard III and Romeo and Juliet. He uses the cockatrice. Dungeons and Dragons also makes a very clear and good distinction of both of these entities. They have very clear and very good descriptions on these entities, which I also think is very cool, but what else would you expect from a fantasy thing? And I know I mainly talked about the creatures in Roman and in English history, but they are similar beings in other countries. Even in mythology from ancient Egypt, there are similar beings, but not really the same. In Korea, you have the Kerong. It is said to pull the chariots of legendary figures or those legendary figures parents. In Japan, you have the Basan or the Basabasa, who resembles a large chicken and is said to breathe ghost fire. In South America, we have the Basilica chilote, a combination of a chicken and a serpent, which lives under houses, eating the phlegm and the saliva of those who live there, causing those people to dehydrate and die. Yikes. We also find Colo Colo there, a feathered creature which looks like a rat, but it's also created by a snake egg hatched by a rooster. So it's a lot like, the two others. And in Central America, we have the snallygaster, which of course is also a reptile bird mishmash. If you want to know even more, I'm trying to compile this information as short as possible. If you want to know more, I very much recommend Googling. I'll also add all of my sources to the description, not only of the cockatrice, but also of the other creatures I'm talking about today. But make sure to specify mythology. There is a real life basilisk, but it's nothing more than just like a little lizard who just has something in common with the basilisk from mythology. It has something that looks very similar to the mythical creature's crest, the crown-like thing. So please don't be scared. That little lizard is not going to breathe fire. It's not going to turn you to stone. It's just a lizard. He won't harm you, I think. Up next, we have the Sigbin. To explain the Sigbin's significance, we must look into its origins and its evolution. Its existence is deeply rooted in the Visayan people, and its legends date back centuries. The Sigbin's beginnings can actually be traced back to pre-colonial animistic beliefs, as well as the influence of the Spanish colonization of the Philippines in the 17th century. This pretty much forced fusion of cultures, created a bunch of mythical creatures, including the Sigbin, as native Visayan folklore intertwined with Catholicism and Spanish traditions. That is also why it's believed that the term Sigbin comes from the Spanish word chupar, meaning to suck. And of course, this bloodthirsty being is terrifying too. Its features are a combination of multiple animals, such as a hornless goat, a kangaroo, and a bat. Now, I love bats, but that combined with a hornless goat and a kangaroo, along with everything else I'm about to tell you, nuh-uh. It's around 2 feet, which, once again, about 61 centimeters. It has an elongated tongue, bulging eyes, and it moves in reverse with its head tucked between its hind legs, which means that this allows for the Sigbin to silently and inconspicuously walk around. And if that is not already terrifying enough, it can also become invisible. It gives off the most nauseating smell. And the best way to tell if a Sigbin is around is listening for the sound of the clapping of its ears. Shit, call me a Sigbin the way people only know I'm around when they hear the sound of clapping. One of, if not the most feared aspect of the Sigbin is its bloodthirsty nature. And the targets of that bloodthirst can actually vary story per story. Some say that it roams the night and selectively targets children and individuals during their slumber, creeping into their houses during the night to satisfy its gruesome appetite, and it serves as an eerie reminder of just nighttime vulnerability, you know what I mean. Others claim that the Sigbin feeds on the shadows of people who are outside during the night, which is also the story that the book I have refers to, biting down on their shadows rather than the people themselves. Another big factor I found while researching is that within the stories, the Sigbin is said to come out of hiding during the Holy Week, the week that leads up to Easter, looking for children to kill so it can turn their hearts into amulets. It doesn't help that Holy Week starts next weekend. Ugh. Lastly, there is a myth that states that the Sigbin looks like a dog and is owned by wealthy people who hide the creature in clay jars. These families, according to the legends, are known as Sigbinan, which translates to those who own Sigbin. The members of these families possess the power to command and control these creatures. Aswang, Filipino evil spirits, are also said to keep them as pets, along with another mythical creature called the Wakwak. I've seen other names as well, but I couldn't find them once I was writing. But basically, Wakwak is another vampiric animal, but this time it's in a bird form instead of this bat, hornless goat dog thing. Filipino folklore also includes that the Sigbin can be controlled and summoned by witches, sorcerers, or just general practitioners of black magic. And here are three noteworthy stories where the Sigbin takes a crucial role. We have the Sigbin and the Witch. In this tale, a malevolent witch employs a Sigbin to execute her malevolent commands, unleashing terror upon a village. This story serves as a cautionary admonition against delving into the dark arts and the dire consequences of harnessing the power of the Sigbin for nefarious ends. Then we have The Night Visitor. This narrative recounts a family's harrowing encounter with the Sigbin in the dead of night. It vividly portrays the fear and helplessness experienced when confronted with the unknown and the supernatural. And lastly, we have the Sigbin's Curse. In this legend, a Sigbin's curse plagues a village, setting off a series of unfortunate events and illnesses. The villagers must seek the guidance of a sagacious elder to rid themselves of the curse, accentuating the significance of unity and collective action in overcoming adversity. As written by the people over at mythicalcreatures.info, the Sigbin stands as a testament of the timeless potency of folklore and mythology in shaping the beliefs and perception of a people. Furthermore, its grotesque appearance, bloodthirsty proclivities, and predilection for the night have rendered an iconic figure in Filipino culture, captivating the minds of young and old alike. The Sigbin serves as a symbol of the unknown, fear of the night, and the mysteries that shroud the realm beyond the visible. It represents the anxieties and uncertainties lurking in the dark, whether they be tangible threats or intangible fears that haunt the human psyche. Within the cultural mosaic of the Philippines, the Sigbin signifies a connection to the past, serving as a testament to the intricate interweaving of indigenous beliefs, Spanish colonization, and the enduring legacy of folklore. This unique blend embodies the fusion of diverse cultural elements that have contributed to the tapestry of Filipino identity over centuries. It underscores the enduring power of traditional beliefs in a modern world. The presence of the Sigbin in local tales, legend, and superstitions not only underscores its cultural impact but also impacts valuable lessons. Furthermore, it functions as a cautionary narrative for children, effectively reminding them of the perils concealed by the night, instilling a sense of vigilance and circumspection. In addition, parents and elders diligently recount stories of the Sigbin to ensure that the younger generations remain guarded and protected. Consequently, this oral transmission of tales serves as a profound means of preserving cultural traditions, ensuring that they endure and thrive through the passage of time. For our fourth and last creature of the day, we have Eloko or biloko if you're referring to multiple of them. They're a bit like Norwegian trolls. They look and act different depending on who you ask. Details on them are also pretty hard to find in any English language sources, which means that this might be inaccurate. I hope I still have enough correct info to do this legend justice, but if you know anything more, please comment and I'll find a way to add it in. There are two main stories of this tale, but they describe Biloko pretty different. Mabel H. Ross and Barbara K. Walker published a collection of folk tales where they consistently implied that they're large ogre-like creatures. Other stories, however, describe them as very little, almost dwarfish. These differences could very well be due to the story varying by its region or just misinterpretation while it was being passed down. But in the end, as we fade into the night, ooh, wow, who will tell the stories of... Okay, sorry. In the end, an Eloko is an Eloko. It's its own thing that we just can't compare with anything else. I don't know how to pronounce the name of the people where it originated. I've looked online, I can't really find any decent pronunciations, but I have found that just saying Mongol people is also good. I hope that's true. I will be referring to them as Mongol people, but if it's not true, then I am very, very sorry. Stemming from the Mongol people in Congo, neither of its names can actually be found in their language. However, the Lingala language, which is also spoken in that area, has the same words, meaning something similar to thing, which actually makes sense since the way they come into being is either they are former humans reincarnated as monsters, or it's the spirit of an ancestor who turned vengeful and took on a monstrous form. I know I said there are two different stories, but also, like I said, the book focuses more on the dwarf-like creatures, so I will be delving into that story. These vengeful little guys have a beard of grass, clothes made of leaves, and they carry a bell to attract humans and, enchant them. Their eyes are often described as piercing, and they have sharp, claw-like tips on their fingers. Sometimes they're described as having animal-like features like a dog's snout, and of course it then also comes with a similar sense of smell. They also have an unhinging jaw that opens wide enough to swallow humans. Biloko are basically just the representation of the dangers of the forest, of going out alone, and kind of like toying with danger. They live in hollow trees deep in the forest and they smell like Congo's rainforest, meaning that they don't target specific people or villages, but they more so protect their territory and attack anyone who infiltrates their territory. Oh, but then it's easy, just stay away from their territory, you thought. Because they mainly reside near the best and the rarest fruit and the best food to lure in human prey. And although it is said that these little guys like beer and honey and bananas, let's be honest, just the dream diet, their favorite item on the menu is probably humans. Preferably women, too. Yee! And they will save the liver as the last piece to eat. The most well-known and iconic thing about the Eloko is that it carries a magical bell whose chimes enthrall and hypnotize humans into doing whatever the Eloko wants, which includes being its dinner. Only those who carry special amulets and charms can overcome an Eloko's power, but even then, it's not a guarantee. One source claims the only way to fully kill an Eloko is to dismember it and bury the pieces in different locations. But then another source states that they're extremely strong and they cannot be defeated by regular force, and that only a sorcerer or a witch can make these guys disappear. So basically, no one knows how to get rid of them. You just kind of try, and if it doesn't work, then well, yikes. The most famous English retelling of the Eloko tale goes as follows. A Mongol man once built a fenced-in hut in the forest to find game. Whenever the husband left for the village, he would warn his wife, "Remember, if you hear the sound of a little bell, don't answer or you will die." Yet, as the monotonous hours went by, the wife found herself entranced by the ringing of a bell deep in the forest, coming closer and closer and closer. Finally, she ran outside, calling to the Eloko, "I'm here, I'm here!" She cried, and the Eloko duly appeared. "Here I am, I have come to you," he announced. The wife was overjoyed and prepared a meal for her guest, but the Eloko refused the fried bananas and fish. "I only eat human meat, and I am so hungry," he wheedled. "You are a precious woman. Give me a piece of flesh." The woman willingly proffered her arm, and the Eloko took a portion of meat, which he roasted and devoured. Then he left, leaving the woman to bandage her wound in silence. When her husband returned, he saw his wife bedridden and in pain. "I have sores," she said. "Then take the bandages off and have some medicine for it." She refused and would not explain further. But the next day, the same gruesome episode repeated itself. The husband left, the wife entertained the Eloko, and the Eloko left the wife with another deep injury. This time, the husband did not believe his wife's excuses and decided to lie in wait instead of returning to the village. When the Eloko returned, later that day, he pulled out a knife and told the woman that this time he desired her liver. The husband immediately fired an arrow into the dwarf, then ran him through with a spear and decapitated him. But the Eloko had already stabbed the wife in the liver, and she died. The story goes a little bit different in Bantu linguist's Jan Knappert's tale, where he states, "One day a hunter took his wife, at her insistence, into the forest, where he had a hut with a palisade around it. When he went out to inspect his traps, he told her, 'When you hear a bell, do not move. If you do, you will die.' Soon after he had left, she heard the charming sound of a little bell coming closer, for the Eloko had a good noise for feminine flesh. Finally, a gentle voice asked to be led into his room. It was like the voice of a child. The woman opened the door, and there was an Eloko, smelling like the forest, looking small and innocent. She offered him banana mash with fried fish, but he refused. 'We only eat human meat. I have not eaten for a very long time. Give me a piece of your arm.' At last, the woman consented, totally under the spell of the Eloko. Later that night, the husband found her bones. These two endings are very common. You will either have people say that the Eloko kept returning until, he wanted to eat her liver, and then the husband shot him. The other story ends the same way as I just said, that when husband returns, he only finds her bones. Biloko are often found in media too. Dungeons and Dragons, once again, being the most prominent and probably the best one, as they are the only Western interpretation I came across that uses biloko as plural of eloko. In Pathfinder, a biloko and an eloko are separate creatures, both pluralized by English rules, so bilokos, elokos. There are some implications that bilokos can evolve into elokos, but they are overall different species of fae. Biloko shows up in a few books as well. In Veronica Henry's Bacano, an Eloko, named Eloko, is just one of the many, many characters drawn from African mythologies. We also have Demon Springs, an urban fantasy series by S. Usher Evans. Evans has Elokos as one of the 5 types of demons in her world, with the main representative in the plot being Biloko, the Belu Eloko, once again referring to the two beings as different species. And lastly, Bethany C. Morrow's A Song Below Water and A Chorus Rises also have very, very great descriptions of these beings. I have not read the books, but I have found online that just the book itself is really good, but also the depiction of the Eloko is very good. And that was all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. There's 17 creatures in this book in total, so let me know if you want a follow-up video with the next 4 creatures, because I do really like researching this. I think it's a really cool book, and I think the other creatures in this book can be very interesting to talk about. So let me know in the comments if you would like to see the next part of this, or if you would want me to talk about something else for the next video. Don't forget the important things like grabbing some water, grabbing a snack, remembering that you are very much loved, and also don't forget the less important but still important things like liking and subscribing. We're on the road to 5K, which is a lot of people. Anyway, once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.